Oh boy. Hi everybody. My name's Lukie Gomez and welcome to my channel, Central Coast Wisdom. This is a channel I've just recently started, and the reason why I'm starting this channel is because I love stories. All kinds of stories. I grew up in a family where we told all kinds of stories. Good stories, bad stories, funny stories, stories about adventure, personality stories, family member personality stories, good personalities, bad personalities, great personalities, crazy personalities. It was all a cool mix of stuff. And we were all very just like, it was all fine. It's all part of life, you know. There's good and there's bad, and you balance it, and it was great. And so I wanted to do this channel focusing on the wisdom that we find in the central coast of California. And what do I mean by that? Well, in the 60s and in the 70s, we had here in the United States a great cultural revolution, you know, and it was a Pacific revolution. It was a peaceful revolution. It was not a guns and, you know, revolution like, for example, we had in Guatemala, which is where I'm from. It was a peaceful revolution where the young people of that time were stepping out of the cultural norms, stepping out of the boxes of cultural norms and exploring what life had to offer for them, and going where no members of their family had ever gone before. So I always thought that was kind of cool and interesting. And a lot of cultural changes came about because of these young people from that period that went out into the world in a different way, uh, from a different perspective of wanting to search for new things. Um, the object of the search was something new and different. And that's what was so revolutionary about it, because it brought in new ideas, new ways of looking at life here in the United States, new realities. And this is what also created, what is it, a different spiritual expressions, basically, which is something that I'm very interested in. How like, and it was a movement that affected the whole world. We all found out what was going on in the States, and we were like, wow, that's cool. And pretty soon the hippie movement was everywhere, you know. It was highly criticized. You were the bad sheep of the family if you were a hippie. And there was just like all these challenges that older folks and people who were living in the establishment had to deal with. But it was a peaceful movement and a very interesting movement. And I'm really fascinated by these stories, and also by those spiritual searches. How many manifestations came into reality in terms of spirituality, spiritual practice, spiritual beliefs. And it's just become like a rainbow of expressions of spiritual searches, and wanting to find one's spirituality in many different ways. And I find that very, very interesting. Now, for me personally, I was raised a Catholic. I'm originally from Guatemala, but I came to this country very young. As a matter of fact, I learned Spanish twice and English twice by the age of 9. And so by then I was bilingual. But because I was in the States, English became my main language. I was going to school and everything was in English. My Spanish was just mostly spoken. Later on in life, as I grew older and more mature, I went back to school and studied Spanish literature, and I got my master's degree in Spanish literature. And so with the idea of the beauty of oral storytelling, which was something that my family did. Not all the members of my family were storytellers, but there were quite a few members in my family who were storytellers, and told us stories throughout the years that we were growing up, and even as adults, they still had stories to tell. There was always something to say and something to tell about. Uh, Maybe sometimes we might consider that gossip, but I consider it's a story, you know? And stories come in forms of exaggeration, it comes in forms of a perspective. So it's not always the final truth, but it could be a truth. Um, so I just find that fascinating. So because of that background that I come from, and now that I'm retired here in the Central Coast, I've been living in California on and off for the last 25 years. And when I say on and off, because going back to Guatemala, where my mom was, and then coming back and going there and coming back. And it pretty much it's been like that all my life. Back and forth, back and forth. So it's a definitely interesting gift, and something that I like to think about and explore also. But in this channel, I'm specifically focusing on the stories of people who lived who were growing up, who were like young adults in the 60s and early 70s, and the experiences that they had. So that's what these videos are, is of people that I know, that I've met, who don't mind coming forward and having me videotape them and interview them about their life stories. And so I hope I can get more people that will be happy to do this. I'm sure that everybody has an interesting story in their heart, and it's hard sometimes for many people to just come out and talk about their stories, and I totally understand that not everybody can do that. But I hope to bring more stories as the years go by. It's a channel that's starting out really slow, because people need to know, what is she doing, what is she about. So little by little, I'm bringing forward some videos. So thank you so much for visiting and for watching, and I wish you guys the best. Lots of love, and thanks for visiting my channel. Bye bye.